the rich so that people who have helipads on their house or near their house can help chip in for black school districts that are perpetually underfunded. How about we do that? But apparently, if you believe in that, you are radical, far left, danger to this country. Both parties will disassociate with you, right? But if you are a Republican member of Congress who signs on to an amicus brief to overturn the results of our national election, which 106 House Republicans did, not just challenge a precinct, not just challenge a state, but challenge many states. Just challenge the results of an election, actually undermine our Democrat, I don't even want to say Democrat, big D Democrat, our democracy. If you want to undermine our democracy so that you can advance minority rule in the United States because black and brown people not voting for you is too politically inconvenient to your hold on power, you're just a moderate Republican, right? You're just a normal Republican. You want to undermine the very democracy that we claim makes us special and gives us moral authority to have, disastrous foreign policy. You want to undermine that democracy, and you'll sign on to amicus briefs to overturn the results of our presidential election. That makes you a moderate Republican. But if you want to get people stimulus checks, and if you want to guarantee healthcare in the United States, that apparently makes you a radical, dangerous leftist. I didn't grow up like many of you. I did not grow up in a far left household or a far right household. I didn't grow up in a house like that. I grew up in a house that was actually proudly independent. I grew up in a house that said, you need to be watching all these people because none of these people can be trusted to consistently deliver maximally for you. And so you need to keep your eyes out and actually look and read and see what's happening. That's the house that I grew up into. And, there's a lot of people that are like team red or team blue. And in our two-party system, for the most part, if you want to be a public servant in elected office and you're not kind of running on a local level, we have to choose team red or team blue because we don't have a parliamentary system like there are in other countries. In other countries, there are many different parties, and you elect who you think is best for your pocket of the world, and that may result in one party getting 10%, another party getting 20%, another party getting 30%, and then what they have to do is that they have to cobble together, like these 2 or 3 or 4 party, whatever it may be, have to form a coalition that says we're going to be the majority, we're going to be the government, right? Which almost forces people to see and discuss the more nuanced differences, and everyday people can understand that. But if you're just team red or team blue, people just make claims about what they are and what they support and what they don't support, and whether they support it or not support it, there's less accountability for it. So anyways, that's just a big rant because, if people think that the present day is like radical far left, they just haven't even opened a book. Like, we had much, much more radical and radicalism in the United States as recently as the 60s, as recently, when we talk about how labor unions started in this country, that was radical. People died in this country. It was almost like a war for the 40-hour work week and your weekends. And a lot of people died for these very basic economic rights. And we can't go back. We can't go back to that time. And so I guess the thing that is, sad is that when you see people that indulge, both on the right and the left, both Democrats and Republicans, when they indulge in these narratives of common sense policies being radical, what it does, what they're trying to do is really shorten the window of what's possible. Doubling the minimum wage should be normal. Guaranteed health care should be normal. Trying to save our planet should be centrist politics. And, you know, I'd be happy to sacrifice, you know, my reputation if people were calling me a sellout for believing in guaranteed health care, right? If that left was much more expansionary. But the fact of the matter is that this stuff should be common sense. And we have way too many people, you know, our perception of what's radical, our perception of being able to shut down when we get past a trigger, right? Because here's the thing that's also a huge irony to me is that all these Republicans and all of these folks who were anti-shutdown are the same people who weren't wearing masks who forced us to shut down in the first place. Shutdowns are not an inevitability. It's not something that we want to do. It's not something that anybody wants to do. I want to see my family. I haven't seen my family in a year, like many of you all. I want to be able to visit my friends without being scared. And I want to be able to hang out with my friends when it's cold outside and not have to be outside. You know, all of that. Nobody wants a shutdown. But the same people who are now like, oh, anti-shutdown, we can't shut down, like blah, 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 were the same people who weren't wearing masks, who forced the caseloads to be so high that we had to shut down areas to begin with. So if you're anti-shutdown, you better to have been wearing a mask all damn year, because don't come to me and say you're anti-shutdown when you're spreading COVID all over the place, potentially. And so I don't just say that about everyday people, but our elected officials. Because you all, you know, for the science and for the studies and for everything to reach mass understanding for just the public, that takes a while. But as elected officials, our job is to be first in modeling responsible behavior. The first. That's our job. And because I can't ask you to wear a mask if I'm not wearing a mask. I can't ask you to take a vaccine if I'm not willing to take a vaccine. I can't demand that, like, you know, I can't ask for you to endure without a stimulus check or without, you know, UI if I'm not willing to understand reality without that, you know, to really fully acknowledge that.